Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, welcome to Black Men. Yeah, welcome to Black Men Speak. I'm your co-host, the J.R. Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, D. Tommy D. Duncan III. It is Wednesday, August the 21st, 2024 Wednesday. And if it is Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Men Speak. So, Tom, let's give a big shout out to Liquid for providing our theme music. And if you haven't already, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new shows, which is every Wednesday. The show starts at 8 p.m. if you want to watch it live, and then by 9 p.m. Central Time, the show is uploaded to the streaming platform. And also hit the like button to help us with the algorithm that determines how many people get to watch the show and that YouTube pushes the show out to. And if you haven't, also make sure you subscribe to the show. If you're here watching live, bring a friend with you so you guys will have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. With that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, which is bring the most progressive information about the Black community on social media.
absolutely, Jimmy. Let's go ahead and get started. And I do
Sure.
want to excuse the show being maybe a minute or two a little bit late. We had a couple of changes on our platform, so we had to get a few things figured out before we got started. But thank you for joining us anyway. And we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's show with a couple of birthdays. So for those of you who had birthdays this week or the upcoming week, happy birthday to you and or a family member. If there's someone that you want us to give a shout out to, definitely let us know on the chat line. And before we do get started, I want to thank cousin Audrey K for joining us this evening, and definitely a welcome to you. So if you've not done so already, go ahead, jump on the chat line, give us a holler, let us know what you think as you are going through the stories tonight. All right, first, we are going to start off with a very talented young lady who is actually a film director by the name of Ava DuVernay. She became the first African American woman to be nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Director for her work on the movie Selma, a biopic about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She is a recipient of 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, 2 NAACP Image Awards, a BAFTA Film Award, and a BAFTA TV Award, as well as a nomination from the Academy and the Golden Globe. After making her directorial debut with I Will Follow, she won the directing award in the U.S. Dramatic Competition at the 2012 Sundance Film Festival for her second feature film, Middle of Nowhere, becoming the first African American woman to win that award. The film was also nominated by the Academy for Best Picture. Her other film credits include Academy Award nominated Netflix documentary 13, and the Disney fantasy film A Wrinkle in Time, which made her the first African American woman to direct a film with a budget of over $100 million. DuVernay's television credits include the OWN drama series Queen Sugar and 2 Netflix drama limited series When They See Us, based upon the uh, based upon the 1989 Central Park Jogger case, and Colin in Black and White, based upon the teenage years of NFL player Colin Kaepernick. In 2017, she was included in the annual Time 100 list of most influential people in the world. Her birthday is on August the 24th. So, an early happy birthday wish to this talented sister and director, Ava DuVernay. All
Okay,
right,
happy birthday.
next, for those who have been an R&B fan for several years, you may know this face, the lovely and talented Miss Valerie Simpson. Yes, Valerie Simpson of Ashford and Simpson. Singer and songwriter Valerie Simpson was born in the Bronx. She met and teamed up with Nicholas Ashford in 1964 to record music as a duo, collaborating with solo artist Joshy Joe Armstead. Their recordings include Never Had It So Good by Ronnie Millsap, One Step at a Time by Maxine Brown, and several compositions by the Shirelles and Chuck Jackson. Ashford and Simpson joined Motown Records in 1966, where they wrote their best known songs, including Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I know that's one of my favorites. You're All I Need
Yes.
to Ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. And reach out and touch somebody's hand. Their first major success was in 1977 with the gold album Send It, which included Don't Cost You Nothing, a top 10 US R&B track. They subsequently released two or more gold albums. In 1984, they released one of their most commercially successful tracks, Solid. Over the years, they wrote for Diana Ross, Whitney Houston, Gladys Knight and the Pips, composing hits including Chaka Khan's I'm Every Woman and Teddy Pendergrass's Is It Still Good to You. They were awarded the Founders Award in 1996, the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers' highest honor. They were also recipients of the Rhythm and Blues Foundation Pioneer Award in 1999 and inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2002. Valerie Simpson and Nick Ashford were married until Nick Ashford's death in 2011. And her film credits, which I was unaware of, Jimmy, include The Galaxy, The Italian Job, and Bodyguard. Her birthday
Okay.
Her birthday is on August the 26th. So definitely reach out and wish her a happy birthday if you got her in the Rolodex. Last but definitely not least, we have Miss Chandra Wilson, who was an actress. For those of you who watch a lot of TV, you may know this face. She was born on August the 27th, but she is best known for her role as Dr. Miranda Bailey in the ABC TV drama Grey's Anatomy, very popular TV show.
The Nazi.
Yep.
She made her very AKA the Nazi.
Yep. She made her very first film appearance in 1993 in the film Philadelphia, starring Denzel Washington. Her work on Grey's Anatomy earned her 4 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. She played the character of Bailey on Private Practice and Station 19. She is also an advocate for people with mental and or substance abuse disorders. In 2015, she hosted the 10th Annual Voice Awards event for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Her birthday is on August the 27th. So definitely a happy birthday, early happy birthday wish to her as well. All right, Jimmy, those are our birthdays for today, but we've got one condolence that we cannot go past this show without acknowledging. Many of you, especially in our generation, probably know this smiling face, Wally Amos of Famous Amos Cookies. Wally Amos, the charismatic founder of Famous Amos Cookies, recently passed at the age of 88. With his Panama hat, kazoo, and boundless optimism, Famous Amy was an entrepreneur, American icon, success story, and source of pride within many communities. In a formal statement, his children indicated his cause of death was complications related to dementia. Amos opened his first bakery in 1975 on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, selling bite-sized chocolate chip cookies that were a novelty at that time. The bakery, taken from a family recipe, attracted Hollywood celebrities and musicians from all areas. Famous Amos started making cookies to make a living, actually, and to be happy at what he was doing, just having fun. Amos did ultimately sell the Famous Amos cookie brand to a private equity group in 1988. We have definitely lost a giant within our community, and we definitely want to give our condolences to his family and those who loved Famous Wally Amos and his cookies.
Okay. Tom, I do want to say something. Most of our views are, I wish they were all live, but they're not. Most of our views come after the show has been uploaded to various streaming platforms, the 4 or 5 that we upload to.
Yep.
One of them decided to block our video last week, Tom. I'm not going to say any names because I know they monitor our show for every little community infraction, but they claimed that we used the sacred V word and spoke ill of it. And in case you're wondering what the V word is, it starts with V and it rhymes with Maxine, but it's not to be spoken on social media. So I'm just going to say I have an Aunt Maxine. So But yes, we criticized A Maxine last week, and they took our show off the air. And Tom, this comes directly from a Supreme Court ruling a few months ago that we talked about on this show. And I said it then, and I can see it coming, that when the Supreme Court should have known better, they should have done more to protect our First Amendment rights to free speech. There are certain things the government can tell social media that you can't talk about, and this was one of them. And as a result, our show got taken down because the Biden administration has deemed that you can't say anything negative about A Maxine. Um, I wish that this comes back up before the courts for another challenge at some point, and that they make the right decision, or that come November 5th, we have a change in administration that decides that they don't want to be censored, or the government should be involved in censoring free speech. With that being said, for those of you that are looking for the show last week and looking to watch it after the show's been uploaded, we apologize. You may have to go to Facebook, X.
Yes,
What's the other site? So one of the other sites that streamers, you may have to go there to catch an old last week's episode. So we apologize. Our hands have been tapped by Big Brother. So just remember, Tom, no more comments about
Maxine.
a Maxine, and do not use the sacred V word anymore. That
Got you,
being
got
said,
you. And
huh?
actually, it was a very good show. It was a very good show, so I was pretty
Oh, it was a
disappointed with
great show.
yeah,
That's
it
the
was.
sad thing. It was a great show.
Yeah. So all that being said, we will continue to move forward with our shows. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge a couple of other folks who have joined us on the chat line. And then we're going to have to actually get to our first music contest. Brother Ed Gray from the Commish radio show has joined us on
Every
the chat
Saturday,
line. So we want to, of course, welcome to Brother Ed Gray. Oh, Faith Fleming. We've got the lovely Faith Fleming
hey,
who is
okay.
on the line today on the chat line. So we want to thank her for joining us as well.
Well, I just want
And
to
of
give a
course,
quick shout out for Faye. She's a great speaker and a great marketing
yeah,
person. So if you need marketing expertise, especially if you're a nonprofit, or if you need someone to speak at your event, I'm telling you, I've heard her speak, known her for years, and she's great in both capacities.
absolutely. So
Yes.
let's go ahead and start with our music contest. We do one at a quarter after and a quarter until. Rules are you have to identify this a cappella song, either the name of the artist or the name of the artist of record or the song that is the title of the song of record. And you can get either 1 or 2 points depending on whether you get one or both. You don't have to get both if you don't know both. So we're going to go ahead and let JR start with the honors, and we'll get started.
All right, folks. All decision by the judge, which is Tommy, are final. And after about 20 or 30 seconds after the song is played, he'll call time, and there'll be no entries at that point that'll be accepted. So here we go, Tom.
Came across the letter you wrote, said you need time away. That was so long ago. All my life I waited to see your smile again. In my mind I've hated, not able to let go.
All right, folks, we have 30 seconds.
So, Tom, do we need to replay that one? Because I got a connection error. I don't know if it's just me or everyone.
No, we got some stuff coming in. So,
Oh, okay.
all right, and let's see here 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, Three, two, one. Ding, ding, ding. And we are now out of time. So we've got, let me see, all right. So it looks like we've got a pretty close one. And we've got Uncle Asar. Looks like he's got the name right with a very close second with Miss Carol. And wait a minute, let me see if we got this right. Oh, it looks like he is the only one who got the title right, which is Come Back to Me. I got a couple of Let's Wait a While. Well, I got a Let's Wait a While, but it is Come Back to Me by Janet Jackson.
Anybody get the artist?
Yeah, that was Uncle Asar.
He got the artist and the title.
Yes,
2 points.
yes. Miss Carol was a
Okay.
very, very close second.
Okay. All right.
So again, we will have another one at a quarter until 9 p.m. So make sure that you get your your musical sharpeners out so that once we get a quarter to the hour, we will have another music contest.
All right. Well, let's get on with our news stories. We have a jam-packed show, so let's do what we do best, Tom, and bring the progressive news about the Black community to social media. What say
All right,
you?
all right. Let's go ahead and start with our first story. Actually, this is a story, Jimmy, that we ran out of time to discuss last week, so we're going to take a few minutes on it this week. Kind of intriguing story, a little bit unfortunate, something that we've discussed at a deeper level. I think it was last year, Jimmy, but a former Klein ISD teacher revealed recently that she was a whistleblower who alerted school officials at Klein, Texas ISD to another teacher at her high school who was involved in a sex trafficking ring at the high school that they both taught at. Desmond Darton, an educator of over 12 years, said she reported fellow teacher Kedria Grisby to multiple district officials in February of 2023. However, nothing was done when she reported the issue at that time. According to Darden, her daughter had been in a relationship with the other teacher, Grisby's son, but later became a victim of sex trafficking. In April 2024, more than a year after Darden's report, Grisby was arrested on felony charges of child sex trafficking and recruiting minors for prostitution. Her son, Roger McGee, was arrested on similar charges. With attorneys at her side, Darden claimed that she was not protected after reporting Grisby. Instead, she said the district unfortunately terminated her. She stated, "I didn't make this action simply because I'm an educator. My first response was because I'm a mother. And it's been a sickening, dark pit in my stomach to show that Klein sat on this information for over a year." In April, Klein ISD released a statement. It called Grisby's alleged crimes disgusting. Klein claimed they contacted the Harris County Sheriff's Office in February of 2023 after this report was made, purportedly by Darden. However, Harris County Sheriff's Office has confirmed that no such call was ever made to their office at that time. Darden's attorneys argued that Klein ISD should have further investigated Grisby in February of 2023. They are now filing a lawsuit against the district on Darden's behalf. Klein made a formal statement and did not deny Darden's allegation. And interestingly enough, we actually had two special guests last year that talked about trafficking. And this seems to be a pretty unfortunate incident in the Houston area, which is Klein. Klein is a suburb of Houston ISD.
Right. So all I can say is one, you need to elect better district council people or school board members to run your schools. That's the first thing. But the other thing, Tom, is that The reason the school district sat on this and waited is because they needed time to clean it up. You don't know when you first make the allegation how many people are involved, from the superintendent, principals, teachers. I mean, this could be a huge mess if you just go to the sheriff department right away and open an investigation or bring the Texas Rangers in to investigate something like this. So I'm pretty sure the school had to sit on it. The district had to sit on it for a minute, um, check it out, make sure that and try to determine the degree to the of the damage and the liability they were going to bite off, because this could easily have resulted in millions of dollars in lawsuits. Um, so this doesn't surprise me that it played out the way it did, Tom. All I can say is you find yourself in a school district that's being poorly run, elect better school board members and get more involved to change the schools around. Unfortunately, Tom, in the black community, we don't care enough about the schools that our kids attend to get involved. And school and education should be our top priority.
I can't disagree with you in some areas. However, sitting on it for over a year before anything substantive happened is a little bit of a challenge. And this is the deal: anybody who has a child and a daughter in particular, to know that something of this nature had happened, and the school district, the administrators at the school, or the administration itself didn't do anything for close to a year, potentially putting other children in harm's way. That's a problem for anybody who was a
They
parent.
don't care about the kids. They care about the money.
Who doesn't care about the kids?
The school district doesn't care about the kids. They care about the money. And they had to wait because you don't know how far these tentacles will reach. It could be, maybe the superintendent's driving by picking up a young thing every now and then. Principals, teachers, counselors, you don't know the extent of the involvement. So you have to kind of keep it on the hunt for a minute while you check it out. Now, if you just determine just one or two people that are expendable, okay, then you go to the police. That may take some time. You wouldn't want the police coming and arresting the superintendent, the principal, and a bunch of other people and tying it all to Klein ISD or Houston ISD. That would be a scandal and a mess, Tom.
Well, I would have to disagree with you. I'm not saying that the district doesn't, in fact, care more about money than the students. I can't disagree with you on that. I don't know. All I know is that when you're talking about having adults supposedly in the room who are responsible for the education and the safety of your children, that should be a top priority. That is the education and the safety of your children. Just the same way, if someone were to come in there with a gun and start shooting or doing something illegal, selling drugs or whatever the case is, you're not going to sit on someone selling drugs into your school for a year, or you shouldn't be sitting on someone selling drugs into your school for a year.
It depends on who's buying the drugs, Tom.
What's that?
If it's teachers and principals, it depends on who's buying the drugs. But you said the right word. They should be. The kids should be top priority, but the kids, obviously, there's no other explanation. Yeah, the kids were the top priority in this particular example. So,
all that being said, is if this was to happen in anyone whose school I know who had a son or a daughter, I can't think of anyone who would say, we need to wait for a little while to figure out what the economic impact and damage before, number one, you identify the teacher who actually she blew the whistle on, have her arrested, have anyone that's involved in arrested. Because the thing about it is this: when you're talking about something as sensitive as this, the longer you sit on it, the more damage that is potentially done, not just personally to people's children, but to the reputation of your school district and or your school in particular.
Okay.
So I would say
it
needs to clean out. All that being said, we wish Miss Darden the best of luck in her lawsuit, because she was fired after she had done to get her out of the way.
The snitches end up in ditches. So like Epstein.
Well,
you don't go tell on everyone else. Like I said, it depends on high up those tentacles go. But of course, they will fire her first. And that'd be the easiest way to cover this thing up initially. So, well, good luck with our lawsuit, Tom. So, you have a little more belief in these people than I do. I don't think they give a damn about the kids. They
well,
didn't care
somebody's
enough
got
to
to
make the
fight.
case.
Somebody's got to fight for the kids.
Someone does have to fight for the kids, Tom. That's the parents foremost. Need to fight for your kids. Stop putting them in schools where they're taken advantage of, and then where drugs are being sold, and then they're being trafficked sexually. So, like I said, there's no telling how high those roots go. So, but I do understand the school district waiting a year to see what the damage is going to be, how much liability are they taking.
I don't understand. There ain't no excuse for it. But all that being said,
It
we
all
wish
comes
them.
down to the money, Tom, at the end. Follow the money.
I understand. All right, let's go ahead and go to our
So,
next period.
what's our next story?
Texas State Attorney General Ken Paxton recently. This is another story that I was hoping we ran out of time last week. Texas State Attorney General Ken Paxton recently threatened to sue the city of Dallas if it does not instruct the operator of the State Fair of Texas to rescind a recent gun ban during the State Fair of Texas this year. The policy was initiated after last year a 23-year-old young man, Cameron Turner, opened fire and injured 3 people at the State Fair in 2023. The fair had to be evacuated and shut down.
Okay.
This is, of course, Ken Paxton, not the young man. Paxton states that the fair policy violates state laws permitting licensed gun owners to carry firearms on government-owned or leased property. The city owns Fair Park, where the State Fair is held. The ban prohibits fairgoers from carrying all firearms, knives with blades above 5.5 inches long, clubs, explosive devices, ammunition, chemical dispensing devices, replicas or hoaxes, or weapons of any kind. The ban extends to concealed or open carry of firearms anywhere on the fairgrounds, including the Cotton Bowl, but excludes elected, appointed, or employed peace officers who are there to keep, of course, the grounds safe. Fairgoers would also have to go through weapons detection technology before entering the grounds of the Fair Park, which the city of Dallas leases to the nonprofit. Private organizations holding events on publicly owned property have instituted gun bans in the past, however, including the annual Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, which is held in NRG Stadium in Houston, which has prohibited handguns since 2016. State law does prohibit guns in places where schools and professional sports events occur, and businesses where more than 50% of income comes from the sale of alcohol. Despite the backlash and legal threats, the State Fair has maintained its stance, asserting that no changes will be made to this gun ban policy.
Okay, well, they're probably going to get shut down in court, Tom. The law is very clear on our conceal and carry law is very clear. And in the law, they explicitly prohibit municipalities from violating the rights of those who want to carry a gun legally. And so this is what the city of Dallas is doing. Trying to pass it off and use the nonprofit as an umbrella is just wrong. That property is owned by the city and even leased by the fair. And even if the fair is a nonprofit, it's still city property, which the law prohibits any city from restricting the right of those who legally carry a gun from carrying it. So, I mean, I don't know how. This is kind of plain and simple. The fact that other nonprofits or private organizations and events restrict gun carry at their events, well, they're not leasing land from the city. If it's their land or it's private land they're doing the event on, then they can set the rules. But cities, municipalities, counties, you cannot just violate state law, even if you have a good reason to do it. So in this case, I believe, in my humble opinion, that the city of Dallas is wrong and the fair is wrong. And I'm pretty sure that Paxton's going to take them to court and that they're going to lose in court. So they're either going to be forced to change or shut the event down.
Well, it'll be pretty interesting. The state fair has been around for a very, very long time. And of course, an unfortunate incident happened last year with this shooting that injured some people. And as you said a little bit earlier, Jimmy, it does all come down to money. And the reality of it is, safety is the number one issue that the city of Dallas is looking at here, because quite frankly, you can't have any people rally going around with weapons that could potentially hurt people. I mean, anyone who's been to the state fair, whether it's in Texas or any place else, you have young kids, you have family members, you have senior citizens, things of that nature. And quite frankly, what the city is doing is trying to mitigate potential risk, not just in terms of lives, but in terms of economic interest as well, because they want to make sure that the place is safe for fairgoers. And so what they are doing here is trying to say, hey, come back to the state fair because it is a safe place. And the reality of it is, if you got everybody with guns and or weapons, I mean, yeah, alcohol is served in some of these places. Somebody has too much. Somebody gets into it. If you fighting with fists, you live to see another day. If you're fighting with gun, not always.
Well, Tom, all I can say on this subject matter is, if someone's able to sneak a gun in and nobody else has one, then you just ducks in a barrel being shot at. But if many people have a gun and someone starts shooting, well, you have a much better chance of taking the shooter down, someone taking the shooter down before law enforcement get there, which may save a bunch of lives. So I understand that the city of Dallas, what they claim they're trying to do, but once again, they don't have the right to violate state law. So if you don't like the law, the best way to deal with it is through your legislator and either amend it or have the law tossed out. But you don't just decide for whatever moral reason that you're not going to honor the spirit of the law and the letter of the law.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, there are some states who says, the federal government is overreaching. And in this case, the local government might say the state government is overreaching. But at the end of the day, folks want a safe environment where they can take their family, their friends, and their loved ones and enjoy themselves and eat too damn much and have a good time. So, we certainly hope they could make some type of agreement with this, because the other issue with having everybody with the gun is when something pops off, you're going to have more people getting shot, because quite frankly, everybody is not a marksman. And if you got 1,000, 2,000 people out there with a gun, and then somebody starts doing something stupid, a whole lot of people going to get hurt. A lot more people is going to get hurt if it's just law enforcement officers who are there to protect.
Okay. Well, we're going to agree to disagree on this one, Tom. In my city of McKinney, we just had our 4th of July, Red, White, and Boom celebration, fireworks at the park, concert. And, of course, it's open carry. Lots of people there with their firearms. You know what else we had there, Tom? We had law enforcement there, and we had the SWAT team there on every high point with a high-powered rifle, willing to take whoever starts causing a problem with a gun, take them out right away. So maybe what the city of Dallas should do is follow the law. If they want to put snipers up around the park in every area to prevent this by taking out a shooter quickly, then do that. But certainly don't violate the law under the guise of you have a moral right to do this because you're trying to protect people. What's our next story, Tom?
All right, Jimmy. Next story, kind of a tough story, but with obviously a good ending to it. A man who was wrongfully imprisoned, Jimmy, for almost 50 years gets $7 million from Edmond, Oklahoma. The city of Edmond, Oklahoma recently awarded $7 million to Glenn Simmons, who spent 48 years literally in prison for a murder that he did not commit. On August the 12th, the Edmond City County Council reached a settlement with Simmons, who filed a federal lawsuit earlier this year over his wrongful incarceration. The settlement resolves Simmons' claim against the estate of the late Edmond Detective Sergeant Anthony Tony Garrett and the city of Edmond. Claims against another retired Oklahoma City detective, Claude Schobert, and his respective city are still pending. Simmons was convicted in 1974 of a shooting of Carolyn Sue Rogers, a liquor store clerk. According to Simmons' legal team, Garrett and Schobert concealed evidence that would have proved his innocence at the time. Unfortunately, that evidence was not brought forward. Simmons' lawyer also alleges that the investigator falsified reports of witness identifying Simmons in the lineup. Simmons and Dunn Roberts, another man convicted of Rogers' murder, were initially sentenced to death row before their sentences were modified to life in prison due to a 1977 Supreme Court ruling. Simmons spent 48 years in prison before he was released in 2023 by Oklahoma City County Judge Amy Palumbo after determining that he was actually innocent. According to the University of Michigan Law School's National Registry of Exonerations, Simmons was the longest served wrongfully convicted man in U.S. history. First and foremost, congratulations to Glenn Simmons. That's a hard one to swallow, 48 years for something you didn't do.
Okay, and yes, it is, Tom. And $7 million is not enough, so they're lucky I wasn't on that jury because I would have gave him 10 times, 100 times that amount. But anyway, I'm glad that the man was released. The record was corrected eventually. 40 years is a very long time for a record collection, but I'm glad he didn't die in prison before he was exonerated. So, okay.
And we talked about this. I guess it's been over a year when we talked about. Matter of fact, it was earlier this year when we talked about Craig Watkins, who had passed, and of course he became known as the Dallas County DA, who ended up getting a lot of brothers and sisters, for that matter.
33 of 32, somewhere around there. Yes.
Exactly. And so no one should spend time in prison, which is not an easy place to be, Jimmy, for something that you didn't do. God forbid it's for something that you did do. It's still a rough place, but to spend almost 50 years, unconscionable. Unconscionable. So we wish him the best. Hope he is able to, he can't obviously get back all those years, but hopefully he can enjoy his life, and this will give him and his family some comfort for the harm that was done to him during that period of time.
True.
All right, next story, Jimmy. And we actually talked about this a while ago, but a Florida woman who fatally shot her neighbor, who was a mother, was found recently guilty of manslaughter. A woman with a history of harassing children and using racial slurs has been convicted of manslaughter in the fatal shooting of her neighbor in Ocala, Florida. Susan Louise Lorenz, 60 years old, killed Ajike A.J. Owens with a single shot from a .38 caliber handgun as Owens knocked on her apartment door on June the 2nd, 2023. The Marion County Sheriff's Office said at the time that Lorenz and Owens were in a... Excuse me?
I was just saying we had the wrong photo up, but go ahead.
Okay. The Marion County Sheriff's Office said at the time that Lorenz and Owens were in a long-standing feud over Owens' children playing in the neighborhood. An all-white six-person jury found Lorenz guilty of manslaughter despite the 60-year-old asserting that her actions were in self-defense. Lorenz faces up to 30 years in prison. Owens, a mother of four, this is not her, this is Lorenz. Owens, a mother of four, had gone over to confront Lorenz after the woman allegedly threw skates and an umbrella at her children as they played outside. Owens was shot through the door as the women argued, Owens' children being literally right next to her at the time that she was shot and killed. Owens was not on, and the apartment door was locked. Lorenz denied throwing things at Owens' children, as described in the interview, feeling harassed by the children during her time living in the home. Her defense attorney, Morris Carranza, told jurors in her opening statement that Lorenz felt in her core that she had no choice but to shoot through a locked door. Okay. Florida law gives some protection for the use of deadly force if a person reasonably believes such force is necessary because their life is in imminent danger. These, of course, were called stand your ground laws. Lorenz wasn't initially arrested following the shooting, which prompted public outcry on social media and, of course, in that local community. The sheriff's office at the time said officials were investigating whether the stand your ground law applied. The prosecutor's office said that it is considered a second-degree murder charge, but did not feel there was enough evidence to prove intent. Multiple neighbors told NBC News at that time in interviews last year that they recalled times the Rents had recorded their children, taunted the children with slurs, and called the police and waved guns at them. And I
Okay.
think we did talk about this one last year, Jimmy. Hadn't really seen any updates in a while, but obviously it looks like, other than the sentence, that this particular case is coming to a conclusion.
Well, I think they got the charge right. Murder two. Of course, the jury got it correct. So the system does work when most of the time. Doesn't work all of the time. Of course, we know that from the previous story. But the other thing, Tom, is I would say this: that when it comes to your kids, and we've done a couple of stories with people dealing with their kids and neighbors complaining about kids. If you're in one of those situations, the best thing to do is just move. There's no reason to keep confronting your neighbors, going back and forth, and have it escalate to something like this. Now she's dead. Her four kids are gonna be someone's gonna have to raise them without a mother. Over what? Skates and toys and who's in my yard and making too much noise. This silliness. This is not worth dying for. And if you have stupid, ignorant neighbors that you live next to, do your absolute best, if you can, to move. If you can't move, then do your absolute best to distance yourself from your ignorant neighbors so it doesn't escalate. States like Texas and Florida, where
Florida.
the castle rule, the stand your ground laws are built on the castle law. Um, States like that, you need to be very careful about going on someone's property and confronting them. So, because if they construe it to be a threat and a jury believes that they had a reasonable belief that they were being threatened or their life was being threatened, then they may have some legal protection to use deadly force. And so you don't want to play out that way because despite that she's facing 30 years in prison, Tom, whatever her sentence is, she may only serve half of that, and then there's no telling she may get paroled and get probation. There's no telling what the judge is going to sentence her to. So she may not serve very much at all. So we'll see.
Agreed.
We'll follow up on
Agreed.
the story. Yes.
As
Okay.
we
What's
get more
our
details
next
on
story?
and we've got Uncle
I
Assassin.
hope
Now
they
she's
throw the
yeah,
book at her. To be totally honest,
yeah,
because
yeah,
she's there with her kids. That you could have
yeah.
easily, if it was more shots, you could have easily hit a kid.
Her killed a kid.
So I mean, I
Exactly.
think the judge need to just for the recklessness and the foolishness, and the lack of any regard for that woman's life. You obviously you were in no danger, but I hope he throws the book at her. But let's wait and see if we can get an update on the sentence and talk about it again. We'll bring it back up, put it back on the agenda.
Sounds good. Well, Jimmy, we are now at a quarter till, so we now have our next music contest on the queue.
Oh, okay. Get your fingers ready, everyone. Be at the keyboard.
All right, folks.
Do we
Either
need to go
the
over the
artist of
rules again?
record or the official title of the song.
First person, first entries, win. Here we go.
Strangest feeling with no vivid reason here to find. Yet the thought of losing you's been hanging round my mind. Well, I'm a man of many wishes. I hope my premonition misses what I really feel. My eyes won't let me hide, 'cause they always start to cry. 'Cause this time could mean goodbye.
All right. We've got some folks who have identified that voice who I think everybody knows. We've got about 30 seconds to see if anybody gets the title correct. All right, let's see if we are almost there with the time. Oh, we are already beyond 30 seconds. And it looks like, Jimmy, we have got the artist, but we don't have anyone with the correct title of the song. Of course, the artist is Stevie
You
Wonder.
kidding me?
The artist is Stevie Wonder, but the title, no one actually came up with the right title, which is Lately, within 30 seconds.
Okay.
And so Miss Miss Carol actually was the first to get the artist name right. She did come up with the title, but it was after the 30 seconds was over with, unfortunately. So
Oh, okay.
Carol
Sorry.
will get Miss Carol will get a point for the artist.
Okay.
All right, folks, let's go
Well,
ahead and get to
congratulations to
our
our
next.
point winners.
All righty.
What's our next story, T?
All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and get with it. Another pretty interesting story that I don't think we've covered this one before, but a young lady actually is going to get 11 years after killing a man who had trafficked her, and she ended up killing in order to get away from him. A Milwaukee woman was recently sentenced to additional prison time after arguing she was legally within her right to defend herself, killing a man who had trafficked her. On Monday, August the 19th, Crystal Kaiser, pictured here, was handed down an 11-year prison sentence and 5 years parole in connection in the 2018 fatal shooting of Randall Volar. Kenosha County Judge David Wilkes sentenced now 24-year-old Crystal Kaiser to an additional 5 years of state supervision after she pleaded guilty in May to a count of reckless homicide in Randall P. Volar's June 18th death. Kaiser was 17 at the time when she shot 34-year-old Volar in Kenosha. She burned the house down and stole his BMW to get away, according to reports. Kaiser initially faced several charges, including first-degree intentional homicide, arson, car theft, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. However, Kaiser argued that Volar had begun trafficking her at the age of 16. After Volar's death, Kaiser was imprisoned by the state of Wisconsin for an act that could have been avoided, quite frankly, if police had brought charges against the sexual predator for child sexual exploitation when they learned of the situation. This is why the Kenosha Police Department found extensive evidence that Volar was operating a child sex trafficking ring around the time of his death. A 15-year-old girl called 911, not Kaiser, for help for fleeing Volar's house and was found wandering the streets, drugged and half naked on a February night at that time. Police searched Volar's house 10 days later, 10 days, and seized a mountain of evidence, including videos of clearly underage girls, home videos of Volar sexually assaulting them, bikini bottoms, underwear, and women's pajamas. There were videos where Volar instructed the girls on performing sexual acts in preparation for them to be sold into prostitution. Kaiser was identified. Kaiser was identified as one of the girls in the videos. Despite all the evidence, the police arrested Volar, but he was released the same day with no bail posted. Further, a case was never entered into record. Kaiser was just 17, of course, when she was initially charged in the case with first-degree intentional homicide, and the case garnered international attention over the past 6 years. In 2022, however, the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled that trafficking victims could be absolved of first-degree intentional homicide for offenses committed as a direct result of being trafficked. This allowed Kaiser's team to present evidence at trial that the crimes she was charged of were a direct result of the violence she had experienced. Her bail, Jimmy, was initially set at $1 million, which was eventually reduced to $400,000. Over 1.5 million people signed an online petition supporting Kaiser and advocating for the charges to be dropped. Kaiser maintained that she acted in self-defense, but in May she pleaded guilty to a reduced count of reckless homicide.
Yeah, Tom, this kind of stuff happens to our people all the time, especially in corrupt states like Wisconsin, where you plead guilty just to get out of jail. So it doesn't look like she's gonna serve any time, but an 11-year sentence hanging over your head for 5 years is a very long time when the state failed to protect you from a predator. So this is outrageous that they would put this young lady through this, and then the whole state should be ashamed that their legal system has
Failed
this may
her.
be legally, yeah, they definitely failed her, and so this may legally be the correct course that you can take, but morally and even I think legally, you should not take it. I mean, there are certain times that you should look at a situation. The state failed her. No one protected the young girl. She ended up having to escape. Um, and Tom, I don't care if she burnt the house down and he died inside, suffocated, wouldn't matter because we know in these situations that if he had lived, he could always come back to seek retribution or to re enslave her. There's no telling what he would do, especially when law enforcement confronts him and let him out after mounds of evidence of what he's doing on a cashless bail. So, once again, Wisconsin is just one of those backwards ass states that care more about criminals and the rights of criminals than they do about the people. But that's very unfortunate. So, but this is what happens, Tom, when you elect the crazies to run your counties, your cities, and your states. So all I can say is elections matter, just like Obama said. They have consequences.
Yeah, and that's why when we do vote in November, any election, because we have elections everywhere. Most folks they focus on the president, they may focus on the Senate, but let's be very clear: DAs, that meaning district attorneys, and AGs, attorney generals, have literally life and death in their hands. So you have to pay attention to who you're voting for, what their policy is, what their history and track record is, because ultimately at the end of the day, this is absolutely malfeasance on behalf of the police department for failing this young girl, and of course, the state for failing her as well. It was said a long time ago that the prosecutor has control over life, liberty, and reputation, has more control over life, liberty, and reputation than any other person in America. And
Yep, that is
prosecutorial
true.
discretion is the bedrock value of the American justice system. And in this case, unfortunately, she was failed.
Yeah, she was, Tom. If you live in
And
one of these
it also
areas or
goes to
states,
show that, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you can move to a state
Yeah,
that's better managed and better run. Move to a county that's better managed and run, or a city or a district, if you can, because these things sound nice on paper until they affect you or someone that you know. And
this is true.
yeah, these cashless bails and being easy on criminals and making excuses for them, and they're just misunderstood. And society needs to give them chance after chance after chance after chance to get their lives together. No, enough is enough when people are being parasitic to society. We don't owe anyone a chance. You have every right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as long as you are doing that in a legal fashion. You're not entitled. You're not required to give people who victimize you chance after chance after chance. So just take that into consideration next time someone comes to you with one of these crazy offers for cashless bails and for prosecutors who exercise their discretion not to prosecute felons, to downgrade felons into misdemeanors as a means to claim that the crime is on a decline when it's not. I mean, you know what you're living through, but if you live in one of these areas, do your absolute best to move because it's not if it's going to happen to you, it's only a matter of time before you become a victim.
And Malcolm said a long time ago that the black woman is the least protected and
She is.
over prosecuted woman in America, the least protected in America. Malcolm said that, God rest his soul, years ago, and this is just another example of that. And that is why, of course, we as black men, regardless of the circumstances, one of our top priorities, if not top priority, is to protect black women because if we don't, nobody else will.
Yeah, Tom, if I was there, I would have gave her the matches to light the fire. Make sure you had enough gasoline poured on the house and make sure he's still in there. So you guys can comment on my opinion all you want, but yeah, too many people failed this young lady, and then to force her to accept a plea. Like I said, she has 11 years prison sentence hanging over her head for the next 5 years for something for really just freeing herself from a bad
She was the
situation.
one, and she was the one that was being exploited.
Yes, she was.
Jimmy, that is the last of our stories for today that I have on record, Jimmy. We have a couple
Actually,
of minutes.
I thought we were going to do the presidential politics. There were a couple of people, notable celebrities.
Okay.
D.L. Hughley, Ricky Smiley, a local guy. What's his name? Not Tom Joyner. What's the other? Steve Harvey and
Steve Harvey.
others. Yeah, who are calling for the support for Kamala Harris just out of blackness and blaming black men because they are leading the pack in the breakaway from the Democrat Party and trying to shame black men for not defending and stepping up for the sister, even though when she was a prosecutor, she put a lot of black men, well, and black women in jail, and she didn't seem to care about blackness at that point. So since we're out of time, Tom, why don't we carry that story over to next week, and we'll start with that one and see what people think. Your opinions. Is she owed support simply because she's black? Do black people have to support another?
And for what it's worth, Jimmy, we actually are going to have our real estate experts. They are already scheduled for
for next week.
Wednesday. Yeah, we do have our
okay.
good friends.
We'll carry it over to the week after that.
Okay, that sounds good. So with that being
we'll carry it over
Jimmy,
to the week after that.
Okay, that sounds good, folks. So we want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Jimmy, you have a couple of words before we shout out for the evening?
No, I was going to say, Tom, you may have to close the show out because my dashboard seems to be freezing. So,
Gotcha.
Thank you for starting the show up. So, yeah, you may have to close it out also.
All right. We'd like to thank everybody, of course, for joining us this evening. If you haven't done so already, of course, like the show, share it with somebody who wants to be informed. And then, of course, if you haven't already done so, do subscribe so you can find out whenever we start our show every Wednesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Because, of course, we talk about the most thoughtful and provocative stories every week that has to do with our community. We want to thank everybody very much and have a good evening.
Have a good evening. You have to hit the